Yoko, we are live, so you can go ahead.
Great. Thank you very much. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. This is a really great moment. We are having a HLPF side event on the Healthy Planet, Healthy People role of the Satoyama Initiative for Green and Blue Recoveries initiatives. This is a side event organized by the Convention on Biological Diversity, Ministry of Environment of Japan, and United Nations Development Program, the Institute for Global Environmental Strategies, and United Nations University Institute for Advanced Study of Sustainability. This is co-organized among these partners who have been working on the Satoyama Initiative for over a decade now. We have an impressive lineup of esteemed speakers and community panelists today who will be providing strategic overview as well as share key lessons learned from the Satoyama Initiative, a global platform that promotes integrated management of socio-ecological production landscape and seascapes. We will also discuss and highlight the role of socio-ecological production landscape and seascape under the Satoyama Initiative, and how it is contributing in achieving the Sustainable Development Goals, and also contribution to the sustainability and resilience for the recovery from the COVID-19, the ongoing pandemic, and also towards the Post-2020 Global Biodiversity Framework. The event will focus on the role of the local actions as well as landscape and seascape approaches, which promote the economic, social, and environmental dimensions of sustainable development in an inclusive and effective manner. I am Yoko Watanabe, your moderator of today's event. I am the Global Manager of the GEF Small Grants Program implemented by United Nations Development Program. As a flagship program of the GF and UNDP with programs in 127 countries, SGP has been directly supporting the Satoyama Initiative and also the local communities and CSOs in addressing global environment and sustainable development issues for over 30 years. We are really happy to be coordinating and organizing this event with esteemed partners today and forwarding the Comdex and the Satoyama Initiative work as we move forward. And we really look forward to a very lively event with exchange with many of you. So the agenda includes opening remark and introduction by Mr. David Cooper and Adriana Dinu from the CBD as well as UNDP, followed by a very lively panelist from the community side sharing voices from the field. We have speakers from Niger, Ecuador, Fiji, Turkey, and Vietnam, and we are really looking forward to hearing their voices. Followed by a Q&A and dialogue with all of you, we will have remarks from our partners from the UNU IAS, from Yume-san, Professor Yume, and also Professor Takeuchi from the Institute for Global Environmental Strategies. And finally, as a concluding remarks and looking forward, we're really looking forward to hearing from Minister Sasagawa from Ministry of Environment in Japan, and also Carlos Manuel Rodriguez, the CEO of the Global Environment Facility. Just a few housekeeping announcement before we start. There is interpretation available, and there is English, French, and Spanish. Please look at the globe that you find in the Zoom setting and choose your language. And please also feel free to raise any questions and comments in the Q&A box as we move forward. We will be looking at it, and at the Q&A session, pick up some of these questions and have a dialogue with all of you. And we would be also appreciate if you could also use the chat box to have some lively discussion on the site. So thank you for that. With that, we'd like to move forward with first a video to set the scene, and we'll now show and provide some brief overview of the Satoyama Initiative and highlights the program's approach and key results achieved in the past decade. Over to the video. Thank you. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed the photos from around the world who have joined the Comdex initiative for the past years in 20 countries and showing the results from these initiatives. So with no further ado, I would really like to introduce now Mr. David Cooper, Deputy Executive Secretary, Secretariat of the Convention on Biological Diversity, for the opening remarks. CBD has been a key partner in the implementation of the Satoyama Initiative over the past decade. I'm very happy to introduce you, David. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Yoko, and welcome to all participants to this official side event for the high-level political forum on sustainable development. The side event, Healthy Planet, Healthy People, the role of the Satoyama Initiative for Green and Blue Recovery. As Yoko said, this is organized jointly with a number of partners, the Ministry of Environment of Japan, UNDP, the Small Grants Program of the GEF, IGES, and the UNU. And I'd like to thank very much all the co-organizers, as well as all the participants for taking part in this side event, and in particular, of course, to the presenters we're going to hear from. As we all know, biodiversity is key to sustainable development, providing water security, food security, resilience that's becoming more and more important as we face a changing climate. It remains the basis for sustainable development and for the eradication of poverty and ensuring that we can have sustainable livelihoods into the future. And so the loss of biodiversity, the degradation of ecosystems, the degradation of our landscapes and seascapes will jeopardize the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals. The current COVID-19 pandemic reminds us that something is not correct in our relationship with nature. We are not living in harmony with nature, and that we need sweeping and urgent action. And this will require everyone to conserve biodiversity, to use it sustainably. And as the world strives to end this pandemic, there's an opportunity to build a society that is more resilient, inclusive, equitable, and sustainable, with nature at its heart. The way we manage our landscapes and seascapes are key to this, to reducing biodiversity loss, to reducing the chances of the emergence of new zoonotic diseases, and ensuring that people can benefit from nature's contributions. The Satoyama Initiative is a global effort to promote the sustainable use and management of natural resources in production landscapes and seascapes, aligned with the concept of societies living in harmony with nature, the theme of COP10 as proposed by the president of COP10, the government of Japan. And this contributes, of course, to the convention, especially its second objective. The Satoyama Initiative has been driven forward through the Community Development and Knowledge Management Project, or COMDEX. This has been funded by the CBD through the Japan Biodiversity Fund and implemented by UNDP in strong partnership with the Ministry of Environment of Japan, the UNU Institute for Advanced Study of Sustainability, to support the efforts of developing countries in promoting sustainable landscapes and seascapes. And there's been many important achievements and contributions to biodiversity and sustainable development in the areas where COMDEX has been implemented. And we're going to hear from some of the really impressive local and community level activities. The future we build, including through the Post-2020 Global Biodiversity Framework, must be grounded in the local level. And so now the third phase of the COMDEX program will aspire to upscale and mainstream the lessons from the local level that have been achieved in the first two phases. So today we're going to hear from some of these local level projects and have a discussion on how these experiences and others under the Satoyama Initiative can be brought to bear on national and global policy. And as we continue to work towards the adoption of an ambitious and effective post-2020 Global Biodiversity Framework to be agreed at COP15 under the convention, these experiences can help to shed a light on some of the challenges that we need to overcome and on the successes that are possible on our path towards our vision of living in harmony with nature. I thank you very much, and I look forward to an exciting and illustrative side event. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, David, for those kind words. And thank you so much for highlighting the role of local communities on the ground and also the potential of Satoyama Initiative as key approach and model to overcome the challenges that we face today, particularly with pandemic, and also the opportunity that is coming with the post-2020 Global Biodiversity Framework and how this could be a model. So thank you again for that. With that, I now have a great pleasure to welcome Ms. Adriana Dinu, Deputy Assistant Administrator of the Bureau for Policy and Programs Support at UNDP, United Nations Development Program. And we're really delighted to have you for this welcome and introductory remark. Thank you, Adriana.
Thank you, Yoko. Thank you for inviting me here. Excellencies, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, allow me to welcome you and also to express my deep appreciations to the Secretariat of the Convention on Biological Diversity, to the Global Environment Facility, the Institute for Global Environmental Strategies, the Ministry of Environment of Japan, the United Nations University Institute for Advanced Studies of Sustainability, and to all of you attending, to our distinguished panelists and all of you attending the event today. Over the past year and a half, we have all been grappling with the far-reaching impacts of COVID-19 pandemic. The crisis, as David said also, has been a wake-up call to look at our outdated economic model and our fractured relationship with nature. UNDP's Human Development Report of 2020 shows what all of us working with ecological systems knew all along and raised the alarm all along. No country in the world has achieved very high development without putting immense strain on the planet. So the next frontier for human development will require working with and not against nature, while transforming social norms, values, and government and financial incentives. And this is the essence of Satoyama initiatives from the beginning. So I had the privilege, I was very fortunate to attend the CBD COP10 when the Satoyama Initiative was launched in Nagoya. So its vision to promote these integrated landscape-based solutions for biodiversity conservation through the promotion of socially inclusive and dignified livelihoods has always been very, very close to my heart. And its flagship program, the Community Development and Knowledge Management of the Satoyama Initiative, COMDEX, which received generous funding from the Japan Biodiversity Fund of the CBD, today is more relevant than ever, as it has the potential through its integrated solution, nature-based solutions, to contribute to a blue and green recovery from the pandemic. We're very proud at UNDP to be delivering COMDEX through the JEF Small Grants Program in close collaboration with the partners who have gathered here today. So the 20 socio-ecological production landscapes and seascapes that were supported by COMDEX attest to this power of grassroots human actions for ecosystem restoration, with nearly 400 projects led by civil society and community-based organizations. I will not give any examples because I will not give any justice, because we are going to hear from the impressive work in the next part of our session, when we'll hear from the communities. The Satoyama Initiative, in our opinion, offers this tremendous opportunity to learn from and replicate these effective area-based conservation models, including what is very essential, these lessons in multi-stakeholder governance to pursue these greener and sustainable approaches for development and build forward better. It provides also a very significant contribution for the long-term vision of land sharing that is articulated by the Intergovernmental Science Policy Platform on Biodiversity and Ecosystem Services, where human beings nurture and continually restore ecosystems as the most viable pathways to reestablish a long-term balance with nature, including by accelerating the uptake of traditional knowledge and partnerships with indigenous peoples and local communities. The objective of the Post-2020 Global Biodiversity Framework, part of the objective to increase the global coverage of protected areas to 30% to year 2030, is not going to be met without reimagining conservation as a fundamentally socially inclusive, in line with the UN Secretary General call to action on human rights. Ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, the 2020 Human Development Report put forward the argument that nature-based human development helps tackle three central challenges of the Anthropocene: mitigating and adapting to climate change, protecting biodiversity, and ensuring human well-being for all. The HDR, the Human Development Report, argues upfront that nature-based human development is about nesting human development, including social, economic, and cultural systems, into the ecosystem, into the biosphere. So at UNDP, together with our partner, we will increase the efforts to build on the innovative and experimental approach of the Satoyama Initiative and COMDEX, and amplify the voices from the field, amplify the local community voices and the local community solutions as an integral part of addressing these global challenges on climate change, biodiversity loss, but more importantly, ensuring human well-being for all in harmony with nature. Thank you so much once again for this very significant event. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Adriana, for that powerful message, and particularly linking the Satoyama Initiative and all the UN and other global agreements and commitments, and also reminding us that exciting moment in COP10 when this was announced, and some of us were all there sharing that excitement. And after a decade, we're sharing a renewed commitment here to move forward further and addressing the landscape seascape issue as a key sort of model and a nature-based solutions that could address the challenge of building forward better in this current situation. So thank you again, Adriana, for that really powerful and enlightening speech. Thank you. So we will move forward now to the next segment of our side event now, the exciting event where we will be hearing the voices from the field. So in this segment, we will be hearing from communities and civil society and their role in managing the landscape and seascape to build resilience, and while addressing the poverty, the food security, the livelihood challenge on the ground, and reach the well-being and social inclusion at the same time. I am really honored to first invite our Small Grants Program National Coordinator in Niger, Nanatal Ismail, who will be speaking on the application of the socio-ecological landscape and seascape approach on the ground in Niger, and how it's translated, the theory or the concept it being translated on the ground. So Nanatal, the floor is yours. Nanatal?
Oui, bonjour tout le monde. Vous m'entendez? Vous m'entendez?
We hear you very well. Thank you.
Bonjour. Ok, merci. Bonjour tout le monde. Et je merci vraiment de m'avoir donné l'opportunité de présenter l'expérience du Comdex au Niger. Et voilà. Donc, le PMF Niger, c'est un modèle de gestion du paysage et gouvernance participative pour restaurer la résilience des écosystèmes. Pour cela, le Niger, nous avons choisi la mare de Tabalak, qui est située dans la région centre du Niger et qui est quelque chose de plus de 600 km de la capitale Niamey. C'est une mare vraiment très importante et d'ailleurs, elle est inscrite sur la liste Ramsar des zones humides d'importance internationale. Et autour de cette mare, il y a des activités socio-économiques qui sont développées, telles que l'agriculture, l'élevage et la pêche. Et mentionnons qu'au Niger, les principales premières activités vraiment du Niger, c'est l'agriculture, l'élevage et la pêche. Cependant, le bassin versant est confronté aux variabilités climatiques, telles que la dégradation des terres et la prolifération des plantes aquatiques, telles que le TIFA. Prochaine slide. Voilà. Dans le cadre des activités réalisées par le Comdex Niger, nous avons fait face aux grands défis écosystémiques. D'abord, il y a la lutte contre les plantes aquatiques envahissantes de la mare. Vous savez que les plantes envahissantes attrapent les poissons, donc ce qui fait que les poissons meurent dans l'eau. Donc, un des projets de Comdex, c'est d'enlever ces plantes aquatiques. Nous avons aussi la fixation des dunes parce que c'est un sol mouvant. Donc, au fur et à mesure, le sable est déporté vers la mare. Donc, la fixation des dunes permet de stabiliser le sable pour que la mare ne soit pas pleine de sable. Il y a aussi la restauration des terres dégradées parce qu'il y a des terres qui sont dégradées et qui sont un peu difficiles pour faire des cultures. Il y a aussi l'empoisonnement de la mare. La mare a des espèces qui ont disparu, donc il faut chercher à les rétablir. Il y a aussi oui. Donc, ici, vous avez les des maraîcheurs, des éleveurs, des artisans, etc., qui ont été vraiment des partenaires de l'exécution du projet Comdex. Vous voyez, la première image, c'est la rencontre de l'équipe avec les parties prenantes pour expliquer le Comdex, qu'est-ce qu'il faut faire, etc., qu'est-ce qu'on peut aider au niveau de la mare. La deuxième image, c'est un site pour le pâturage. Voilà. Donc, la plantation des herbes a permis d'avoir vraiment des ressources pour les animaux. Et la troisième image, c'est la fixation des dunes. Vous voyez en haut, on a fixé les dunes, ce qui fait que le sable ne devient plus mouvant, il est stable. Donc, il ne peut pas se déplacer pour venir au niveau de la mare. Et la dernière image qui est un peu à droite, c'est vraiment les consultations communautaires avec les femmes artisanes. Les femmes artisanes, parce que la zone aussi, il y a beaucoup d'artisans, et notamment les femmes. Et comme je disais, la population de Tabalak est composée majoritairement de jeunes et de femmes. Ça, c'est presque dans tout le pays, dans tout le Niger. Les jeunes et les femmes sont beaucoup plus importants, sont en nombre que les hommes. Donc, cette composition des jeunes et des femmes constitue un atout en termes de disponibilité de la main-d'œuvre pour la planification, la réalisation et des activités de récupération. Vous voyez sur les images, c'est des activités de récupération qui ont eu lieu. Donc, ça a permis vraiment de faire beaucoup d'activités. Next slide. Please, next. Donc, après avoir financé ces projets-là qui ont permis vraiment de restaurer l'écosystème et de revitaliser, on est arrivé à beaucoup de leçons. Et maintenant, le Comdex 3 va être focalisé sur les échanges communautaires afin d'évaluer l'état du paysage, les facteurs clés de succès de restauration et les actions à mener pour consolider les réalisations effectuées. Parce qu'il faut consolider les réalisations effectuées. Et pour la petite histoire, il y a une année, il y a 2 ans de cela, la mare a commencé à s'assécher compte tenu du fait de caprices pluviométriques. Qu'est-ce que les pêcheurs ont fait? Ils ont sauvé les espèces en créant un puits où ils ont gardé les espèces dans un puits. Et comme ça, quand l'eau a repris, maintenant, ils ont encore envoyé les espèces dans la mare. Et donc, vraiment, c'est vraiment une idée géniale. Et il y a aussi, au niveau de la Comdex 3, nous sommes en train de faire avec les consultants une série de consultations sur le modèle de gouvernance participative et la gestion communautaire pour restaurer la résilience des écosystèmes et mobiliser les partenaires techniques. Pour cela, nous avons eu un premier atelier qu'on a fait à Tabalak il y a 2 mois de cela. Et l'atelier a été possible parce que dans le cas du Covid-19, il a été interdit de faire des activités dans une salle. Donc, vous voyez bien, nous avons fait les activités à ciel ouvert, sous un arbre. Donc, nous avons toutes les couches sociales, les femmes, les hommes, les femmes, les hommes, les jeunes et toutes les couches socio-professionnelles. Donc, ce sont ces images que vous voyez ici. Voilà. Next slide. Les leçons apprises du Comdex 3. Donc, nous avons au niveau de la consultation de Tabalak, il y a la restauration des paysages produits, a produit de nombreux avantages économiques, sociaux et environnementaux. Et les avantages, on peut dire, c'est beaucoup parce que vraiment, les activités, les interventions du Comdex ont permis d'augmenter les revenus des producteurs à travers ces différentes activités de pêche, de maraîchage et des travaux de récupération de terres. Et aussi, ça a permis aussi une structuration agro-professionnelle parce qu'il y a eu la création des groupes organisés. Avant, les gens étaient un peu dispersés, mais l'intervention du Comdex a permis vraiment d'une structuration vraiment socio-professionnelle des groupes. Les interventions du Comdex montrent que la restauration des paysages de Tabalak vraiment est possible. Et malgré l'importance des ONG de Tabalak, les financements mobilisés ne sont pas encore à la hauteur des défis liés à la protection de la mare. Parce que la mare, c'est une grande mare. Et vraiment, vous savez, au Niger, c'est vraiment un climat chaud et sec. Donc, il faut vraiment avoir beaucoup de moyens pour vraiment, il faut mobiliser encore davantage d'autres moyens pour pouvoir surmonter les défis. Et là, dans les images à gauche, dans les images à droite, vous avez vraiment les consultations communautaires et un paysage restauré. Et le paysage de la mare, et vous voyez tout à côté, il y a un paysage qui a été restauré. Voilà. Oui. Donc, vraiment, en conclusion, ce que je peux dire, vraiment, les interventions du Comdex ont amélioré les revenus, une restructuration professionnelle et il y a aussi une intégration sociale. Il y a une intégration sociale des groupes vulnérables. Avant, il n'y avait pas cet esprit de travailler en commun et de faire la solidarité avec les membres. Mais maintenant, avec les interventions du Comdex, ils ont vu que ensemble, on peut faire un grand travail, ensemble, on peut réussir. Et il y a aussi, on peut dire aussi, il y a un début d'autonomisation des femmes, parce que vous savez, dans la région, la femme n'a pas accès au foncier. Maintenant, le fait que les femmes se sont regroupées en groupement, les femmes ont eu accès à une partie du foncier et ils font leurs activités génératrices de revenus. Merci, c'est ce que je voulais dire. Merci. S'il y a d'autres questions, après, on pourra y répondre. Merci.
Thank you. Merci beaucoup, Nanatal. Excellent presentation in showing how the landscape planning and consultation and all the key stakeholders coming along, particularly the role of women in these consultation and decision-making on appropriate actions on the ground and coming up with a holistic sort of approach in addressing different elements from water to agriculture to other elements. So thank you again, Nanatal, for that inspiring presentation. Now we're going to be moving from Africa to Latin America. Now we're going to move to Ecuador. We're seeing a short film on biocorridors for living well that highlights the Satoyama Initiative key themes on society in harmony with nature. This will be followed by a brief intervention by Ms. Patricia Menkei Nenquihi Nihua. She is a president of the Association of Mujeres Varurani de la Amazonia Ecuatoriana and is coordinating the Biocorridor project in Ecuador. So over to you for the film first and then to Patricia.
Comunitario, gestión de conocimiento para la iniciativa Satoyama, impulsa en las organizaciones comunitarias los paisajes productivos socioecológicos en los biocorredores para el buen vivir.
Bueno, yo creo que la Amazonía es todo, es un mar verde. Tenemos también montaña y tenemos la llanura amazónica, que es la concentración de la vida por tanta biodiversidad que tenemos.
Comdex busca, junto a las comunidades locales, la gestión de la biodiversidad para mantener, recuperar y revitalizar paisajes de acuerdo a los principios de la iniciativa Satoyama, que plantea el uso de los recursos dentro de la capacidad de adaptación del ambiente, uso cíclico de los recursos naturales, reconocimiento del valor e importancia de las tradiciones y culturas locales, participación y colaboración de múltiples actores en la gestión de los recursos naturales y contribuir a las economías locales. Biocorredor Yakusamai. Las comunidades de Santa Rita y la asociación Pachimbi contribuyen a la construcción de paisajes productivos socioecológicos a través de un acuerdo comunitario para conservar las fuentes hídricas de los ríos Puní y Rumi Shikama.
El proyecto PPD Condex nos ha apoyado para la reforestación de las 2.000 plantas maderables y frutales.
En este territorio, 3 especies agrícolas se destacan como productos de identidad territorial: el cacao, el maní y la guayusa, que son parte de la biodiversidad de cultivos en las chacras. A través de la reforestación de las riberas de los ríos del bosque Colonso, la recuperación de senderos turísticos autoguiados con gestión de la comunidad y la piscicultura con cultivo de especies nativas, la Asociación Agroproductiva Pachimbi contribuye a la construcción del biocorredor Yakusamai.
Gracias al proyecto que han dado especies nativas de acá de la Amazonía. Y tenemos aquí Pachama, y eso nos da bienestar para la familia.
Las comunidades de Arajuno y Curaray, de la provincia de Pastaza, trabajan en sistemas agroforestales. El producto con identidad territorial impulsado en estas comunidades es la artesanía a base de semillas y chambira.
Entonces es vital que estos espacios en donde la gente está viviendo, en donde está trabajando, en donde mantiene sus chacras y que en este caso ocupan los biocorredores, no solamente que se motiven, sino que se mantengan en el largo plazo, porque son espacios de conectividad para especies, para traslado de semillas y sobre todo para el conocimiento, el mantenimiento de conocimientos ancestrales, ¿no?
Revitalizando los paisajes socioecológicos en los biocorredores para el buen vivir.
Wonderful. That was a really nice, lively video. Now to Patricia to follow on the video and hear from you. trying to unmute here. Can somebody help to unmute her? Great.
Buenos días con todos. Mi nombre es Mencay Patricia. Voy a dedicar un canto para iniciar el trabajo que hacemos la UNWAI. Kin ovin pone hang imo, kin ovin pone hang imo, kiu, waponi baneke. Bueno, nuestro trabajo que hemos hecho como mujeres líderes, en tiempo de pandemia y toda la organización que venimos haciendo, 15 años vida jurídica de mujeres Waorani, nuestra asociación hemos hecho poder decidir nuestra propia en territorio de forma adecuada, también toma de decisiones propias, decisiones que hemos tomado y son fuertes para poder responder. Estamos también preparadas, las comunidades, utilizamos también medicina ancestral y no enfermaron muchas familias. Tiempo de COVID, en pandemia, eso durante años que pasó con COVID-19. También se buscan fortalecer alimentación con los productos de la chacra, frutales y alimentos de la zona. Cerca de la casa y no tenemos que ir lejos de la selva. Intercambio de productos. También se utilizan medicinas. Hay comunidades que no tienen medicina ancestral. Tuvimos que intercambiarnos para que las compañeras y familia pueden utilizar. Conde nos ha ayudado mucho a la UNWAI, también fortalecer nuestra asociación hacia las comunidades. Nosotras seguimos conservando que muchos años que han conservado nuestros abuelos sabios, hace años, siglos que cuidaron, y es importante que cuidemos, conservando los bosques, nuestra casa, que todo encontramos ahí, medicina, productos, animales, los bosques, el agua, laguna, todo lo que existe en la Amazonía es importante para cuidar y conservar para nuestros selva, el bosque es importante. Eso pensamos como líderes y la familia. Y también seguir cuidando para que generaciones y nuestros niños puedan conservar y gozar lo que ahora estamos gozando. Temas de pesca, cacería, recolectar frutos, comestibles, todo eso enseñamos a nuestros niños, a nuestros pequeños para que puedan conservar hace muchos años que no se acaben. Debemos pensar cómo vivimos y gozar sanamente de la naturaleza. Nosotras iniciamos con nuestros productos de las comunidades con artesanía de Chambira. que es una palma. Ahora tenemos nuestro mercado. También tenemos chocolate para la conservación, para las comunidades. Y eso es importante con identidad territorial, porque las comunidades son 58 comunidades, son de 3 provincias, Pastaza, Napo, Orellana. Entonces hemos avanzado con 25 comunidades directamente beneficiarias a las familias y estamos avanzando para poder cubrir las necesidades que tienen 58 comunidades y así estamos trabajando comunidades en territorio guaraní. También trabajaremos con chocolate, con el identidad, con nuestra marca guaraní y eso es importante, generar economía para las familias y las necesidades que tienen. Y eso es un trabajo por nuestras líderes, nuestras abuelas sabias, lo que hemos aprendido como mujeres, liderar también tema territorial es importante, toma de decisiones, eso territorial, temática, hemos estado liderando al frente, las mujeres de las comunidades de 3 provincias, toma de decisión, porque nuestros abuelos luchaban, cuidaban, protegían la selva, el bosque. Pensando eso, nosotras como líderes hemos estado trabajando, gracias a Conden, los aliados, hemos fortalecido y seguiremos trabajando, no solo proyecto estándar y después dejar, no, porque queremos continuar manteniendo nuestra cultura, nuestro idioma, las tradiciones que nos dejaron nuestros abuelos sabios, lo vamos a mantener. Estoy muy contenta por compartir a ustedes, los panelistas de diferentes lugares. Estoy muy contenta, igual hemos trabajado, he estado escuchando atenta y estoy muy feliz. A nombre de las mujeres guaraní, gracias a PPD, a Conde, nos ha financiado y vamos a seguir trabajando, luchando, conservando para la vida, no solo para guaraní, sino a nivel nacional e internacional. Muchas gracias. Waponi Baneki.
Thank you immensely, Patricia. That was such a powerful and really coming from your heart, how the traditional knowledge and indigenous rights for resource use as well as land rights and how the women and your community has been protecting it for decades and centuries. And that was really a powerful message. And thank you particularly for your wonderful singing. That was an amazing song. Thank you. So with that, with no further ado, we're going to move back again to Turkey. We are seeing a video on the Turkey's approach to socio-ecological production landscape and see what the Turkish community have done. Over.
Herkes kısmetini yer. Kurdun da kısmeti varsa, yani bizim hayvanda, eğer o bizden çıkışmışsa, o kurdun kısmetidir, alır yani.
Ya bir de biz dağda, doğada doğa bizim olduğu kadar kurtların da
yabani hayvanların.
Bunlar bağışıklık şekilde o ondan çalar, o ondan çalar. Öyle geçer gider.
UNDP SGP-GEF Küçük Destek Programı tarafından desteklenen sosyo-ekolojik üretim alanları anlayışının Türkiye'de yaygınlaştırılması projesi, geleneksel üretim havzalarının ve üretim biçimlerinin korunması ve yaygınlaştırılmasını hedeflemektedir. İdea Universal Derneği ve Doğa Derneği ortaklığında yürütülen projeye Karadeniz Ekolojik Kalkınma Derneği, 4 Mevsim Ekolojik Yaşam Derneği, İzmir Kalkınma Ajansı ve İzmir Büyükşehir Belediyesi de katkı sunuyor. Türkiye, insanıyla, hayvanıyla, bitkisiyle tüm canlıların varlığına saygı duyan ve binlerce yıldır devam eden kadim üretim uygulamalarına sahiptir. Anadolu'nun köklerinden günümüze gelen bu bilgelik sayesinde doğamız görece olarak korunabilmiştir.
Bakla çocuğum Musa Mehmet'ten aldım. O da köyümüzün insanı. Yerli tohumumuş. Çok eskiden dedi. Bu tohumu dedi ben dedi cam kavanozda dedi saklıyordum dedi. Ben de 15 tane anca bir şey aldım zaten bitmiş. Ondan sonra ektim, çoğalttım. Ben de 15-20 kişiye köyümüzde dağıttım. Aynı tohumları. İnci herkes iyi kötü fidanını yeriştiriyor. Yine bu yıl isteyenlere vereceğim. Oğlum bunlar da aten elimdekilerini çıksın sürürdükle. Ondan sonra yaprağını koparıp salataya koyalım.
Biz bu üretim alanlarının en önemli özelliğini aslında dayanışma olarak görüyoruz ve diyalog olarak görüyoruz. Ve bu diyaloğun içerisinde çok önemli bir şey var. Canlılar da var. Yani yaban hayatı da var. Çünkü onların da varlığını ve geleceğini kolluyoruz bu dayanışmanın içerisinde.
Toprağa ne kadar az müdahale, hasat döneminde ekim dikim işlerinde olabildiğince ağır makineler olmadan elle hasat ya da hafif aletlerle hasat yapılıyor. Zeytin ormanlarında bu gerçekten nirvanaya ulaşmış diyebiliriz. Çünkü buradaki zeytin ormanları içerisinde yapılan üretimde hasat özellikle çok ince bir hassasiyetle yapılıyor. Normalde zeytin hasadı dediğimiz zaman işte gidersiniz, bir gün zeytin toplar gelirsiniz. Ama Orhanlı Vadisi Kadim Üretim Havzası'ndaki zeytin hasadı tamamen mevsimsel döngüye bağlı olarak yapılıyor. İlk yağmurlar başlıyor, ondan sonra gidiyorsunuz her bir zeytinin dipleri temizleniyor, dikenleri arıtılıyor çünkü elle tek tek toplanıyor. Yağmurlardan sonra ilk zeytin ağacından yere düşen taneler toplanıyor. Onlar toplandıktan sonra bir daha bekleniyor. Yağmur yağsın, rüzgar essin, o taneler tekrar yere düşsün, tekrar gidiliyor. Bu gibi en az 3-4 defa buranın deyişiyle, buradaki insanların deyişiyle zeytinin ayağına gidiliyor. Ve daha sonra en son artık Ocak ayında zeytin sırıkla, birkaç tane başında kalanlar da sırıkla düşülerek toplanıyor. Olabildiğince işte el işçiliğine dayalı olarak hasat ediliyor buradaki kadim üretim havzalarının içindeki ürünler.
Yağmur yağınca zeytin şişer, kendini gösterir. İlk dökülene zaten biz kızılgur deriz. Onları toplarız, sıktırırız. Ondan sonra bir daha toplarız. En son gırayı yiyip zeytin kendine gelir, ondan sonra çırpıma geçeriz. Zeytin zamanı yasak çıkar burada. Zeytin hasatı bitince kadar yasak, hayvan girmez. Ne zaman zeytin hasatı bitti, ondan sonra hayvanlar salarlar. Hayvan girerse zeytinlik iyi olur. Otunu, nigeranı, gıra, dınağınla rahat olur. Ama hayvan girmese ne olacak? Önemli otlu köprü kolu gider.
Projemizde bu üretim geleneği ve anlayışının yaygın şekilde uygulandığı havzaları korumak ve bu alanların bilinirliğini artırmak istiyoruz. Bu kapsamda akademik çalışmalar yürütüyor, karar vericiler ve diğer paydaşlar arasında ağlar kuruyoruz.
Bu diyalog ortamını oluşturmakla aslında buradaki yaşam kültürünü, hiç kimseyi arkada bırakmayan, herkesi dahil eden yaşam kültürünü zenginleştirmeyi ve onu küresel düzeye yansıtabilmeyi umuyoruz. O yüzden her birinizin bu üretim alanlarından etkilendiğini varsayarak bu geleceği bizimle birlikte oluşturma şansını bizimle paylaşmanızı ve katılmanızı istiyoruz, arzu ediyoruz.
Great. Now we have seen another example of how the traditional knowledge and integrity of the community have changed the sort of landscape and the productivity and the land. So thank you again for that video from Turkey. So now we will move forward to the Pacific. We're going to Fiji now. The colleague from Fiji will be showing how the Fiji has really worked in the landscape and seascape in the Natawa Tunulua Peninsula. Sorry for the pronunciation, but hope we'll enjoy the video here too. So over to you.
The committee members, since the committee members represented the 11 Matangalis of both Tiken and Tunuloa, it has brought in a lot of conservation ideas through its members, and they have gone back to their respective villages and informed their Matangali members on how to preserve their forests. And since this initiative was established by BirdLife International through the Conservation Initiative, COMDEX project came as an icing on the cake for the project of BirdLife with this initiative, because it has enhanced the local committee members with the idea or with the initiative of conservation through its 11 Matangalis. And not only that, they have also diversified their conservation ideas into other conservation areas. However, with the benefits, it has also come with its own challenges as well. There are three main challenges that I would highlight. One of them is that the prioritizing of the project from local community members. Like, for example, head of a household or of a family would want to realize whether the project itself will benefit his own family or not. And if it does, then he will participate in the project. But if not, then he will not be prioritizing the project. And secondly, with the conservation issues, this has also been a great challenge with the COMDEX project, since we want to reforest and protect some of our important bird areas of both Nateo and Tunuloa. As you know, that the Nateo and Tunuloa has been highlighted as these silk-tail reserve areas. This has been a great challenge when we try to protect these forests, and local farmers want to move into their farming because of the high income brought in by the Yangona plantation. Thirdly, support from our local stakeholders. This has been seen as a main challenge because they have their own projects to look after, and the project was not their priority project. With the lessons learned, what I think that would improve the replication of this project to other sites would be a bottom-up approach. Let the community members decide on the livelihood opportunity that they want to invest in. I would suggest that it would be best replicated elsewhere if the community themselves would come up with their own livelihood projects according to their village development plan. Secondly, with the community members, if they can be empowered, a lot of capacity building to be done in the area of reporting and financial literacy, so that they can be empowered. So COMDEX has touched on that, but I would suggest that can be upskilled with the local community members. And also with that comes with the project management and training, if that can best assist our local community members in the projects, whatever to come in the near future in Acton.
Thank you very much. Thank you for Petero from the COMDEX field coordinator in Fiji, sharing his challenge and then also opportunities for replication and scaling up. So thank you for that. Finally, not the least, but very importantly, I am pleased to welcome Ms. Diang Kien, a local business representative from the Community Entrepreneurs Development and Institute from Vietnam. She is speaking on the Satoyama Development Mechanism, which is another key mechanism under the Satoyama Initiative. So over to you, Ms. Dang.
So good evening. It has been very honored to hear all the earlier presenters and also to learn all of the initiatives and lessons from around the world. So speaking of today, I'm thankful to Dr. Koji-san, Yasuo-san, and Dr. Andre from IGES for allowing me to give a chance to share a little bit of lessons and experiences from Vietnam. So contributing into this, we do not have a video as such, but so it has a PowerPoint. And I'm going to talk a little bit on restoration and mixed species trees planting from Vietnam. Next slide, please. So as David Cooper and other earlier speakers have already pointed out, we are in a huge crisis, in which in Vietnam, we also see two biggest crises in the country. Number one is ecological crisis, and we also see the climate crisis that been impacting onto the lives of many farmers and community. One of the causes we're looking at is the continuous exploitation of the natural resources, and particularly in the case of Vietnam, we see a huge area of forest loss around the country. The recent study conducted by USAID, also to Vietnam, pointed out that between 2000 and 2015, about 759,000 hectares of the forest, largely natural forest, being converted to other land use, and notably monoculture plantations, commercial agriculture, hydropower plants, and many large-scale development. Among these, 590,000 hectares is for the commodity production. So what we're seeing here is that by converting from the natural forest into plantations and monoculture, we are actually losing our carbon stock by 81% decrease. And the forest loss within Vietnam has recently intensified the climate change within the country. And we're seeing now in the last couple of years, the natural disasters and climate impacts has intensified around the country. You see all the picture on my right-hand side is actually looking at the very late picture around Vietnam, the central part with the landslide, or the monoculture degrading landscape in the central Vietnam. People are severely affected by floods and the landscape on the northern part of Vietnam. We thank deeply to the SDM, ISFI, the support, and we're looking at the local action around the mixed species restoration. Of course, with the objective that we would like to do the restoring the species and biodiversity, we hope to contribute to the capture carbon, reducing emission, and also help building up resilience, socio-ecological means. Next slide, please. Speaking in a very quick, but I'd like to come back to the very first grant we got from 2016. So it was the very first initiative in Vietnam. We're thinking started with a nursery. Also, like other presenters mentioned, try to restoring the local seeds, local native species. And since then, from the 20,000 seedling and over the years, a nursery of all the scale, from the family to groups of family to community and to even to Laos, the neighboring country, we have been able to inspiring the scaling up and action. The most recently SDM grant, the second one, we're focusing on more on mixed species, both planting and restoration, combined of local animal varieties and also fruit trees to help farmers building resilience even during the pandemic. So despite COVID-19 in the last 2 years, the project also show how mixed species actually contributing to enhance awareness of the young farmers and their community, providing to the income generation, and of course to help building up the resilience against the shock, particularly over the pandemic. Next slide, please. Over the last couple of years, we're also trying our very best to explore the different connections, was a channel in communication, try to strengthening and mobilizing different social actors from indigenous group, from people out the south, people of a different part of the Vietnam, the kids also engage into do the planting trees and restoring the soil. So this is the latest development where we plan to set up as a website, but also to drawing the interest, also attention and support coming from different actors and sector to help supporting different groups who express their interest in more tree planting effort. Next slide, please. As what I see and what we see, very much agree with all the presenters in the pandemic here. We are seeing also the vision of the society in harmony with nature are more than ever relevant. And the COVID-19 impact continuing stress that we need to learn to appreciate, to learn from the nature and learning towards restoration, even the post-2020, the Global Biodiversity Framework. So what we're learning and what we're seeing the way forward in terms of lessons from Vietnam is that I think more action needed to do to continue extending the local groups and community to appreciate that value of the mixed species, putting them into practice, meaning action and application. More local groups and young farmers and communities also realize the significance of the mixed species for agrobiodiversity, food security, in supporting the human well-being, and hence also building resilience, which is very crucial. Finally, what we're also proposing is whether there's an angle and opportunity to support for the coming spatial planning and restoration database, where consider these fragmented spot of local actions restoration being part of the other effective area-based conservation measures, OECM. Thank you very much for your listening, and we look forward to learning more and joining hands with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Dang, and sharing the forest restoration experience in Vietnam under the Sustainable Development Mechanism. Wonderful. Thank you very much. So we were thinking of having a dialogue at this point, but considering a little bit of time constraint, and some of these questions has been answered through the chat box and others, we would like to now move towards the remarks by the implementation partners. And if we have some time later, we can have some dialogue among all the participants and the speakers as we had. So hope that would work well in the limited time that we have. So with this, I am really pleased to introduce Professor Shinobu Yume Yamaguchi, the Director of United Nations University Institute for Advanced Study. As a host organization of the International Partnership on Satoyama Initiative, UNU-IAS plays a key role in conceptualizing and promoting the integrated landscape and seascape approach. So over to you, Professor Yume.
And thank you very much, Madam Chairperson, for the introduction. So I would like to express my sincere appreciation for the intervention of each participant. It was very inspiring to learn about these practical efforts and examples from the field in diverse regions and applying a variety of approaches. Representing United Nations University Institute for the Advanced Study of Sustainability, I'd like to draw 3 valuable lessons from these examples. The first, the importance of indigenous and local knowledge for innovation and transformative change toward a sustainable society. And second, rebuilding the relationship between people and nature is essential for building back better from COVID-19 and realizing a blue and green economy. And third, this transformation is only be possible if local stakeholders are empowered in management of their landscape and seascapes, including indigenous peoples and local communities, women and youth. The Satoyama Initiative, a concept developed by UNU-IAS, embeds such element at its core. As the Secretariat of International Partnership of Satoyama Initiatives, IPSI, we have been advancing knowledge and capacity building for socio-ecological production landscape and seascapes, SEPLAS. So we have been generating and mobilizing science-based knowledge on sustainable management of production landscape and seascapes that has evolved over long-term interaction between people and nature. We synthesize diverse case studies from the partner institutions to elaborate this knowledge and experience through a review process, including a series of workshops to facilitate mutual learning. Key output of this process is shown in our annual publication called Satoyama Initiative Thematic Review. And in fact, this year, the theme is Nexus among biodiversity, health, and sustainable development in managing surplus. So we believe, particularly this issue, which will be published earlier next year, will provide the valuable recommendation to member states for building back better. You can find the link of this publication in the chat box now. So UNIAS also implement a capacity development program promoting socio-ecological production landscape and seascape in collaboration with our important partners, including UNDP, JEF, Conservation International, ISIS, and the CBD Secretariat. In scaling up the concept of Satoyama initiatives, one of our unique and important projects is the development of the manual to support the incorporation of landscape approaches in National Diversity Strategy and Action Plan, NDSAP. This aims to assist the member state and other stakeholders in promoting systematic landscape approaches to help realize society in harmony with nature. So we are planning to launch the manual and after the COP15 and develop a new capacity building project to support its uptake and implementation by the CBD parties. Another initiative that I would like to mention here is promoting other effective conservation measures, OECMs, based on lessons learned from IPCC case studies. OECMs are distinct from protected area and they are managed primarily for purposes other than the conservation, but in the long term, they bring about positive outcomes for conservation of the biodiversity. We are now focused on scaling up our result by strengthening multi-stakeholder coalitions, enhancing knowledge management, and capacity building. UNIAS will continue to work closely with partners to support these activities through a participatory process. This will be a vital role in promoting management of landscapes and seascapes to advance key global agenda, including the Post-2020 Global Biodiversity Framework, the Paris Agreement, carbon neutrality by 2050, the UN Decade on Ecosystem Restoration, and of course, the SDGs. Indeed, a healthy planet is a prerequisite for achieving the SDGs. Sustainability depends on halting biodiversity loss and ecosystem degradation. We look very much forward to working with you all to achieve these goals and build the future where we all live in harmony with nature. Thank you very much for your attention. Back to you, Madam Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Professor Yume, for this comprehensive remark in articulating the role of UNU in knowledge sharing and particularly on sharing about the experience on the sepals as well as the link with OECM. So thank you very much for that. Now we have Professor Kazuhiko Takeuchi, President of Institute for Global Environmental Strategy. He has been the key figure in promoting the concept of Satoyama Initiative. Professor, can you tell us about further on the role of Satoyama Initiative in supporting the Post-2020 Global Biodiversity Framework and also the contribution towards green and blue recovery after the pandemic? So thank you very much, Professor, and over to you.
Thank you very much, Yoko. The excellent concrete examples we just heard about from the SDM and the COMDEST are a wonderful demonstration of the importance of the Satoyama Initiative and the need for its continuation. These examples put ideas into practice where they can influence people's livelihoods and well-being. No matter how well we assess or plan or coordinate, it does not matter unless we implement. These initiatives also demonstrate how the Satoyama Initiative supports the work of the EPBES and the CBD and the UN more broadly. CEPRUS, like the ones you heard about, the models of other effective area-based conservation measures, or OECMs, which the CBD is starting to promote as a way of complementing protected areas. OECMs feature in Target 2 of the current draft of the Post-2020 Global Biodiversity Framework, which will guide national and subnational biodiversity assessment and planning for the next 10 years. Because CEPRUS are managed landscapes, they offer important opportunities for restoring species and ecosystems. So whether as OECMs or in protected areas, CEPRUS can also make an important contribution to the UN Decade on Ecosystem Restoration. Now I have spoken many times of the need to address the different environmental challenges. I think the next one, the slide is okay? Yes, sorry. To address the different environmental challenges that we face together rather than trying to take them on separately. That's because they have overlapping and integrated solutions. CEPRUS embodied this philosophy. The recent EPBES IPCC report on biodiversity and climate change mirrored this idea by advocating the new conservation paradigm with multiple benefit interventions to focus conservation on multifunctional scapes, including landscapes, riverscapes, and seascapes, rather than solely on specific and independent elements of nature, such as critical habitats or iconic spaces. The EPBES IPCC scapes approach integrated functionally intact biodiversity with provisioning of material, non-material, and regulatory benefits from local to larger scales. It includes networks of protected areas and corridors, working or managed scapes modified for human use, and transformed ecosystems such as urban and intensively farmed areas. The report goes to say that for these new approaches to be successful and sustainable, equitably planned, and iterative participation of affected local communities and residents in their design and implementation will be essential in order to root solutions in local economies, needs, livelihood, and politics. I'm sure you will recognize the similarities and the synergies between this concept of scape and the CEPRUS that we have been promoting through the Satoyama Initiative. I think this demonstrates that our work is as more relevant than ever in the context of both biodiversity conservation and tackling climate change. Some of you will also recognize the synergies between both concepts and the regional circulating and ecological sphere, or regional CES, that is promoted on Japan's 5th Basic Environment Plan. So we seem to be converging on a common understanding of what is the best way to go about achieving sustainability. I found this very positive development. So next slide, please. We should also remember that the scapes or surplus or regional CES approach is relevant to the COVID pandemic and the potential future pandemics. Most infectious diseases have their origin in wild spaces, and this seems likely to be the case with the COVID-19 as well. We are far from the comprehensive understanding of how landscape management influences the risk of spillover of zoonotic diseases. However, we can be certain that improving our understanding of disease ecology improve our ability to reduce future risk. Furthermore, it seems that maintaining healthy ecosystem is likely to reduce the risk. One good thing that has emerged from COVID is an increased interest of improving that knowledge. I will end by saying that it has been a pleasure to work with all the many partners of the Satoyama Initiative over the past 10 years since Nagoya Biodiversity Convention. I look forward to continuous collaboration and further exploring how surplus can contribute to our collective goal, exemplified by the SDGs, Paris Agreement, and the Post-2020 Global Biodiversity Framework. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Takeuchi, for really showing clearly how the health of the ecosystem and the health of human is really interlinked, and how we can address these linkages through the landscape and seascape approach, as well as through the circular economy and the integrated economy that we can all pursue for. Thank you again, Professor Takeuchi. With that, we would really also like to now move forward to the concluding remarks and looking forward and scaling up our work. We have the honor of introducing the government of Japan, the Minister, State Minister Sasagawa, for his kind message in continuing the work on the Satoyama Initiative, which was led by the leadership of Japan at COP10, as Adriana mentioned earlier as well. And we have a pre-recorded video from State Minister on his remarks. So over to the video now.
日本国環境副大臣の笹川博之です。困難な状況下で進められた生物多様性条約事務局と UNDP の皆様に心より感謝申し上げます。そしてロドリゲス CEO、クーパー事務局次長、ディヌ副総裁、竹内先生、山口所長、皆様とご一緒できることを嬉しく思います。我々は今、3つの世界的危機に直面しています。すなわち、コロナ禍、気候変動、そして生物多様性損失です。コロナの経験を経て、この3つの危機を克服するため、コロナ後に従来の経済活動や社会に戻るのではなく、持続可能でレジリエンスな経済、社会を構築する必要があります。その過程として脱炭素社会、循環、経済および分散型社会へ3つの移行が重要であります。生物多様性日本基金により UNDP が実施してきた里山イニシアチブ推進プログラムコムディクスは里山イニシアチブを重視する地域の自然資源の保全と持続可能な利用を進める中で3つの移行にも貢献する地域的な良き実践例を積み重ねてきました。この成果を生物多様性条約 COP15 で採択するポスト2020生物多様性枠組みの達成に役立てるべきであります。日本は COP15 においてリーダースプレイズ・フォー・ネイチャーやハイヤーミッションクエスチョンフォー・ネイチャー&ビーの仲間と共に野心的なポスト2020枠組みの合意を目指しています。そして合意された新しい枠組みは達成を目指して力強く実施されなければなりません。里山イニシアチブが ポスト2020枠組みの実施の局面においても力強く貢献し、3つの移行が進むように、日本は引き続き本イニシアチブを支援いたします。現在、ポスト2020枠組みの議論により、2030年まで地球上の陸と海の少なくとも 30% 保護および保全する目標が検討されていますが、この目標の達成に必要な OECM は里山イニシアチブと親和性の高いものであり、今後私たちが貢献できる重要な分野であります。また近年、ネイチャーベストソリューションズ、ワンヘルスアプローチといった生物多様性と気候変動、感染症対策のシナジー強化が注目されております。里山イニシアチブは地域の生態系や健全性確保を通じて気候変動への適応や緩和、そして野生生物との適切な距離の確保による感染症対策にも貢献できると考えます。本日登壇されているジェフ CEO のロドリゲス氏は、昨年のこのイベントにおいて里山イニシアチブはパンデミックに対するワクチンとしての機能があると指摘されていました。本日残念ながら会合に参加することができなかった小泉環境大臣が里山イニシアチブの性格を明確に示すこの指標にとても共感をしております。私たちはこの考え方をさらに多くの国々、当面の目標として100カ国以上のに広めて考えています。そして国連大学が求めているポスト2020枠組みを踏まえた各国の生物多様性国家戦略里山イニシアチブの経験を実証するための手引き書は、私たちの考え方の理解を広め、地域からはボトムアップによる環境、経済、社会の総合的向上による SDGs の達成や3つの移行にも貢献することが期待されている。コロナ危機後、人類の生態系への向き合い方や自然共生の在り方を見直す教訓として、今こそ国際社会が協調して SDGs の達成、そして愛知で共有された2050年ビジョン、自然と共生する世界の構築に向けて里山イニシアチブをさらに発展をさせ、目に見える成果を示していきましょう。ご清聴いただきましてありがとうございました。
Thank you very much, Minister Sasagawa, for that comprehensive message, illustrating the continued strong leadership and support from the government of Japan on the Satoyama Initiative and linking this to the One Health and also nature-based solutions for SDGs achievements. So thank you very much, Mr. Sasagawa. And now I am really delighted to introduce Mr. Carlos Manuel Rodriguez, the CEO and Chairperson of the Global Environment Facility. He has been a great supporter on the Satoyama Initiative and local action and community work from the bottom up for many, many years. And we're delighted to have Carlos Manuel here. And thank you for patiently waiting until this concluding remark from you. And we have an honor to hand it over to you. The floor is yours.
Oh, thank you, Joko, so much. And let me say, I've been enjoying every single minute of this event, and particularly to hear the voices from the field, hearing our partners or friends on how they've been internalizing the landscape management, the vision of working hand in hand with nature, and dealing with your many different challenges, environmental and social challenges, through the philosophy of Satoyama is great. And I really enjoyed today's event, every little piece of it. So thank you so much. It is my real pleasure. And I wanted to congratulate everybody from the Ministry of Environment of Japan all the way to SGP for putting together this event in a crucial time, because this is the time that we need to really understand how do we go from this aspiration of a healthy planet, healthy people, in very concrete actions that can help us utilize the wealth and diversity of approaches of the Satoyama Initiative within the need to build back green, blue, clean, and resilient. When I first heard about the Satoyama Initiative in Nagoya in October of 2010, a lot of things came into my mind, and one was, we've been working in pieces with regards to the natural resources at the landscape level. We work with water, we work with forests, we work with species, we work with the soil, and the same with the economic and the human stakeholders. We work with different economic sectors, and we worked with different social actors, and never brought everything together. So the first time I heard about the Satoyama Initiative in October 2010 in Nagoya, I became a big fan. Back then, I was coming out of the government of Costa Rica. I became a big fan because this is what we needed. We needed an approach that can bring together everything that we've been working on, isolated or sectoral or even in silos at the landscape level. And from there on, the Satoyama Initiative came into and gave us so much understanding. And just, of course, Minister Sasagama mentioned that last year I mentioned that the Satoyama Initiative is the best vaccine for COVID-19. Let me expand my statement today. The Satoyama is the best vaccine for the triple crisis that we're dealing today: the biodiversity, the climate, and the zoonosis COVID-19 crisis. I regret that we haven't understood that this better. We've been working for the last 10 years, and even though we downgrading, implementing, and mainstreaming the Satoyama Initiative at the field level through all the programs, we haven't been able to upscale and amplify it to a level where it really works as a vaccine to all of our threats and problems. So looking into the future, Joko, I strongly believe that we know that this vaccine does works. It makes us more resilient to future pandemics. It makes us more resilient to the impact of losing our biodiversity and the environmental services that natural ecosystem gave us. And it gives us the resilient elements to deal with climate change. And that is what we need to look into the future. The other day, I was looking to a video and message that Minister Kusomi sent us, explaining the importance of the Leaders' Pledge, the High Ambition Coalition for Nature and People, the UN Decade of Restoration, the need to mainstream biodiversity conservation within all sectors, the need to address the many different challenging issues in the way we produce our food, particularly with chemicals. And he said very clearly that the Satoyama approach is that one size fits all kind of approach that we need to do it. So hearing Minister Kusomi and understanding much better today than before the healthy planet, healthy people approach in the context of the aspiration of the green blue, I strongly feel that our challenge into the future is how do we upscale what we've been doing so successfully? Because today we connected dots very clearly. Satoyama is the vaccine for the biodiversity, climate, and COVID crisis. It is also a nature-based solution approach that helps us really pinpoint on climate actions. And also, as Mr. Kusumi said, it is a good approach. It is a good entry point to the circular economy, which is our biggest long-term aspiration in terms of sustainability and achieving the SDGs. So without a Satoyama approach, we'll never achieve the 30% CBD goal that we're very close to get to that. And Professor Takeuchi just mentioned OECMs as a good example of how Satoyama can help us. So without the Satoyama approach, we will never achieve the 30% because we are not expanding protected areas up to 30%. That is totally unviable from the economic, social, and even the environmental perspective. So using Satoyama's experiences in terms of, science-based knowledge and the need to continue investing in Satoyama will help us position OECMs in the core of the 30%. And without Satoyama and the OECMs and the 30%, we'll never be on track for the 1.5%. So here I see once more Satoyama playing a big role in bringing together the 30% CBD objective with the 1.5 climate objective in a way that it becomes cost efficient to us. And these are, some of the relevant important issues. I would like Joko to finalize with one conclusion, something that I mentioned it before, and I hope that we can work on this element, which I believe is something that is pending in terms of our Satoyama initiative. We've been working a lot with the stakeholders, with the science-based knowledge, with the best practices. Now's the moment that we do the institutional approach at the regional, national, and subnational level. We won't be able to really upscale what we've been doing in the integrated management of natural resources, where we harmonize natural resources and human well-being, if we tend to believe that the institutional framework that we have today will help us do the leap forward. Remember, the institutional framework on government still works on silos. We got too many agencies working at the landscape and seascape level with very different vision. So we need to bring the institutional, the Satoyama institutional approach. This can be a new concept where we can generate political dialogues within public and private sector on how do we move from the institutional framework that we have today. We got a Ministry of Agriculture, a Minister of Energy, a Minister of Mines, a Ministry of Waters, and a Minister of Environment and Conservation, all of them with different visions, working the same landscape with the same stakeholders. The Satoyama Initiative needs to help us address the institutional failure of providing us with policy coherence, so we can be able to upscale and really use the philosophy of Satoyama as the vaccine for the triple crisis of biodiversity, climate change, and COVID-19. With this, I would like to close and thank you all for the opportunity to be here. The GF is promoting in the GF8 replenishment process, the Healthy Planet, Healthy People approach. We see the Satoyama as a great cost-effective way to address the need to support countries in their green and blue, clean, resilient, recovering. In this event, it is an excellent, the timing for this event is an excellent for us as we are working the GF8 replenishment process. Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Thank you so much, Carlos Manuel, for this really inspiring and also really putting everything together, today's discussion. As you mentioned, the Satoyama Initiative being the vaccine for the triple crisis of biodiversity, COVID, and also climate change, but the need for really scaling up the work and bringing in that institutional approach, I think is really, really key. And I think you have given us another homework for all the partners here to discuss about building on this great, 10 years of experience. How can we further this within the next, 10 years under the Post-2020 Global Biodiversity Framework, and then towards the achievement of SDGs, and really bring in the multi-sectors, as you mentioned, not only the environment sector, but all the production sectors and finance sectors and others to come in and scale up this sort of vaccine to be having spread and used by all partners and all means. That was really wonderful statement. And I also want to emphasize the need for sort of linking up with OECM, other area-based conservation initiatives and others to to bump up that 30% target that we all going to be adhering to, and really scale up this work moving forward. We would have love to have further dialogue and all the others but during the chat, I think we had a really great dialogue, and I really would like to take this opportunity by thanking everyone who have spoken today and all the attendees, close to like 150 at some certain point, everybody who have joined here today and really joined this amazing journey moving forward with the commitment that has been shown today. We will be in touch with all of you and hope to further this dialogue as the GEF replenishment and the HLPF event will move forward on the SDGs achievement. So thank you everyone again, and we'll see you soon. And thank you. Bye-bye. And
yeah, thank you, Yoko.
Until next time.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Madam Yoko.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for all the speakers and all the participants. It has been an amazing event and a lively discussion. So thank you again.
Thank you very much.
I really would like to appreciate the community speakers giving a really colorful and real concrete example. So thank you.